For nearly 50 years, the OPEC.
Depuis maintenant 50 ans, l'OPEP est le champion du partenariat de la durabilité et du développement durable. L'année dernière, nous avons avancé des solutions audacieuses en engageant plusieurs milliards d'euros. Cette année, nous allons encore plus loin avec de nouvelles initiatives, de nouveaux objectifs et un soutien durable. Parce que lorsque la pression augmente, nous ne comptons pas de réagir. Nous levons ensemble pour créer des solutions durables. De nos États membres vers les îles du Pacifique et des Caraïbes, des grandes villes vers des zones rurales retirées en Afrique, en Asie, en Amérique latine, en Asie centrale et au Moyen-Orient. Le fonds de l'OFID fournit plus que beaucoup d'autres. Il fournit un impact dans la vie de chacune et de chacun, la vie quotidienne de chacune et de chacun qui compte. Bienvenue au Forum pour le développement du Fonds de développement de l'OPEP 2025. Ensemble, donnons notre force pour demain. Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez souhaiter la bienvenue à Lerato Mbele qui va animer notre séance. Merci beaucoup. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, chers invités, c'est un immense plaisir que de vous souhaiter la bienvenue à ce Forum pour le développement de l'OFID. Je m'appelle Lerato Mbele. J'ai le privilège d'animer ce forum depuis qu'il a été créé il y a 4 ans de cela. Alors, on est bien sûr ici sous l'influence de la beauté de la ville de Vienne, et je l'ai été également, mais j'ai vu aussi comment le forum a grandi dans sa stature, dans son action dans le monde entier. Et il y a une raison pour cela. C'est une plateforme de conversation, plateforme de dialogue, où nous pouvons véritablement articuler des perspectives dynamiques et nouvelles sur la façon dont le multilatéralisme et le développement peuvent avoir lieu dans le monde. Cette année est une année de transition pour donner plus de force au futur. On sait que la transition veut dire des changements. Certains disent même parfois c'est de la transformation complète. Et c'est caractérisé par le changement même si l'incertitude est grande. Et justement, peut-être que dans ce moment particulier, on peut réimaginer l'avenir. Mais alors que nous réimaginons cet avenir, peut-être pouvons-nous sous-tendre tout cela par les valeurs que représente le Fonds pour le développement de l'OFID, inclusion, durabilité, égalité, donnant ainsi aussi plus de voix aux membres du Sud global. Et alors qu'on a préparé l'ordre du jour pour le forum de cette année, on a pensé exactement à cela. On a réuni des décideurs politiques, des investisseurs et des dirigeants. Et vous tous êtes les architectes d'une approche différente du développement dans le monde. Et j'espère qu'aujourd'hui, on pourra véritablement utiliser ce capital intellectuel présent dans la salle ici aujourd'hui pour véritablement voir quelle est la façon dynamique de catalyser quelque chose qui va pouvoir lancer l'avenir. Et je voulais à nouveau vous souhaiter la bienvenue chaleureuse à toutes et à tous. Willkommen in Wien. Assalamu alaikum, bienvenue, benvenido et karibafana. Et sans plus attendre, je vais maintenant recevoir sur la scène le président du Fonds de l'OPEP pour le développement, le docteur Abdulhamid Al-Khalifa, qui va ouvrir la séance d'aujourd'hui et nous dire quelques mots. Nous vous écoutons.
Thank you, and Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellency, the President of Mauritania, Excellencies, Prime Ministers, Excellencies, Ministers of our member countries and partner countries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to OPEC Fund Development Forum. We are honored to host such a distinguished gathering of guests from around the world. I see partners from diverse nations and cultures, united by a common conviction that development and dignity are not acts of charity, but enduring investments in a future we all share. Each of us brings a unique expertise and experience. Together, we have built progress for countries and communities, step by step, through focused effort, collaborative spirit, and deep resolve to drive meaningful change. Today, the ground beneath us is shifting faster than ever, accelerating climate change, growing skepticism in multilateralism, national budgets stretched thin at a time when global needs are rising. The risk of reversing decades of hard-won development gains, especially for the most vulnerable, has never been greater. This demands institutions that listen and act with urgency and wisdom. Institutions that stand with partners in times of uncertainty. Let me be clear about where we stand. We are committed to advancing development. We are committed to the Global South. This mission unites our member countries, it defines our purpose, and it derives everything we do. In times like these, development is more than a goal. It is a moral obligation and a shared responsibility. The challenges we face, from climate change to economic shocks, are too great for any single institution to shoulder alone. But together, we can transform adversity into opportunity. This forum reflects that collaborative spirit, and your insights are more than welcome. They are essential, because supporting development is also a choice to turn intentions into action. Last November, the G20 called on multilateral development banks to be better, bigger, and more effective. And I agree with that. But in a world of tightening resources, we must also be smarter. Smarter means more than innovation here. It means a precise and tailored solutions with clear and identifiable outcomes. When resources are increasingly limited, working smarter means advancing our goals with a greater speed and efficiency. With that in mind, I offer 4 questions to guide our discussion today. How do we bridge the growing finance gap? How can we ensure digital inclusion? How do we strengthen climate resilience? And how do we unlock country-driven development? By working together, we can and must find solutions that accelerate delivery and ensure deeper, more lasting impacts. Last year's forum showed what is possible when we build together. We committed to designing dedicated support for small island states. And last month, we delivered, launching the Island Resilience Facility for vulnerable island communities. We mobilized over $800 million in pledges for Sierra Leone. And thanks to Saudi Arabia, we delivered a debt relief for Somalia. Yet, much work remains. With only 5 years of left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we face what the UN Secretary General called a development emergency. Progress only half of all SDG targets is insufficient, while only 18% have actually progressed since 2015. Developing countries face a $4 trillion annual funding gap, worsened by record debt servicing that are draining resources from essential services. That's why we are at OPEC Fund accelerating our efforts, building on the momentum of last year's forum to close a critical gap and deliver tangible impact. We joined Mission 300, pledging $2 billion to bring clean energy access to 300 million by 2030. We deployed $1 billion food security action plan and committed an additional $2 billion to ensure food supply in partner countries worldwide. We are delivering $1 billion to combat desertification as part of the Arab Coordination Group $10 billion commitment to the Riyadh Global Drought Resilient Partnership. As the Arab Coordination Group proudly marks its 50th anniversary this year, the OPEC Fund is honored to stand alongside our fellow members of this strategic alliance to celebrate 5 decades of shared purposes across the developing world. We know from experience, when partners align their resources, expertise, and approaches, the results are transformative. Just yesterday, at a high-level roundtable for Mauritania hosted by the OPEC Fund, the Arab Coordination Group came together to pledge $2 billion in support of Mauritania's National Development Program, another testament to our collective commitment to meaningful impacts. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, while we celebrate progress, we must also confront new pressures, particularly those threatening global trade. Trade is a cornerstone of development, but that foundation is cracking under pressure. Disrupted supply chains, soaring costs, and foreign exchange volatility are hitting the most vulnerable hardest, with cascading effects from farms to factories, infrastructures to essential services. That is why I'm pleased to announce our new purpose-driven OPEC Fund Trade Facility Initiative. Through 2030, this initiative will mobilize significant resources, targeting billions in support to help countries secure strategic imports, to address trade-related liquidity gaps, and to strengthen resilience in the face of external shocks. This is a direct response to an urgent need and a reflection of our commitments to stand by our partners when it matters most. In 2024, OPEC Fund committed $2.3 billion to 70 projects worldwide, a 35% increase from the previous year. Projects completed last year connected 300,000 households to electricity, built more than 500 kilometers of roads, and empowered 75,000 farmers and 35,000 women. All of these results in this annual report, which is distributed outside. These numbers are important, but more important are the stories behind them. Stories of dignity, resilience, and hope. With 39% of our financing aligned with climate change, we are already ahead of our targets. Global challenges demand more than funding. They demand focus, flexibility, and follow-through. And that is the OPEC Fund's blueprint. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, next year we celebrate 50 years of the OPEC Fund. Anniversaries are not a destination. They are a milestone along a continuing long journey. With only 5 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we are picking up the pace. Our ambition is clear: $20 billion in new commitments by 2030. But volume alone is not our only measure of success. Our true impact lies in the lives we improve, in the futures we empower, and in the partnerships we forge and strengthen. Today's forum is more than a gathering. It is a convergence of purpose and a renewal of our shared commitment. From this dialogue will emerge new frameworks for collaboration and lasting partnerships, not as a monument to our past, but as a bridges to a brighter future for all. Thank you for being with us today, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much to you, Dr. Al Khalifa, also for reminding us that development is first a decision, then an action which has an output social impact, and that the OPEC Fund has been doing that for almost 50 years next year. Before I introduce our next speaker, I'd just like to make a small housekeeping note and make you aware that in this morning's plenary session, some of the speeches will be delivered in Arabic. And to that end, we have provided translation headsets at your tables. For English, please use channel 1. For French, channel 2. And when we conclude the session later on this morning, please leave the headsets at your table. And so without further ado, let me introduce to you our next speaker, who for all intents and purposes is a leader for such a time as this. As part of the executive in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, he has been part of a team that has presided over an era of growth and development for this country that in the last 3 years alone has seen the Human Development Index of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia improve by more than 5 points. And that's really living the truth of empowering your citizenry for the future. So please join me in welcoming warmly His Excellency Mohammed Al Jadaan, the Finance Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who's also a member of the OPEC Ministerial Council.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Speech in Arabic, so please, if you need to put your headsets. Bismillah.
In the name of God, Excellencies, Mr. President, esteemed guests, peace and blessings of God be upon you. Allow me at the outset to express my deepest gratitude to the OPEC Fund for organizing this important forum, which sheds light on the role of economic policy reforms to enhance the capacity of countries to withstand and face financial and economic challenges, and to unlock inclusive, sustainable growth. The economic reforms adopted by countries to achieve prosperity and to address development challenges are fundamentally based on securing the basic needs of individuals and society, foremost among which is addressing the challenge of energy poverty facing 1.2 billion people worldwide. Esteemed Assembly, energy security is not a luxury, but it is a fundamental pillar for achieving development and inclusive growth. Its absence means disruption of essential sectors such as healthcare, education, economic productivity, environmental sustainability, and even water extraction and achieving food security. With rising geopolitical tensions, market volatility, and surging global energy demand, it has never been more urgent to achieve a more secure and diversified energy landscape. This requires a strategic push to diversify energy sources, scale up investment in clean technologies, and adopt innovative financing solutions to accelerate energy access and strengthen long-term energy security. In order to address these challenges, we must act decisively on four main fronts. First, multilateral development banks must support all energy sources without bias. We caution against pushing for unrealistic emissions reduction policies that exclude or neglect investment in key energy sources, leading to challenges in energy markets and a disproportionate impact on developing communities and countries. Second, multilateral development banks must scale up concessional financing to accelerate the response to the needs of regions suffering from energy access and energy deficits. Here, I would like to commend the ambitious Mission 300, which Mr. President talked about a while ago. This initiative provides or aims to provide energy to 300 million people in Africa, led by the World Bank and with the significant contributions from partners such as the Islamic Development Bank and the OPEC Fund. I would also like to commend the Clean Fuel Solutions for Food initiative, Forward 7, which is one of the Green Middle East initiatives announced by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which aims to provide clean fuel solutions to millions of people around the world. Since the launching of this initiative, collaboration has taken place with key industry partners such as the OPEC Fund, the Islamic Development Bank, the World Bank, and the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation. Third, we must reduce the risks of investment in and attract private market and private sector. This can be achieved through a range of instruments, including partial risk guarantees, political risk insurance, and blended finance structures. These tools help mitigate perceived risks and improve the bankability of energy projects, especially in low-income or high-risk countries. Fourth, We should increase investments in emergency energy technologies such as carbon capture, utilization, and storage, as well as developing more sustainable uses of hydrocarbons, such as gas, which contribute to addressing carbon emissions and ensuring energy security during the transition to net zero. Esteemed Assembly, the repercussions of energy poverty have no boundaries, including in this continent. Its effects reach all countries, whether through economic instability, increased migration pressures, or increased humanitarian burdens. In the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we are working with everyone to enhance energy security and eliminate energy poverty while continuing efforts to address climate change. We have set an ambitious goal to obtain 50% of our electricity from renewable sources by 2030 and to achieve net zero emissions by 2060. And that is through the circular carbon economy model. Therefore, all nations should help expand energy security, and this will help provide a reliable pathway for equitable and sustainable development for all. Thank you very much, and I wish you full success in your endeavors.
Thank you for reminding us about the importance of collective action and mutual responsibilities in the world. Shukran to you, Minister of Finance for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed Al-Jadaan. And now we're going to garner some insights from a head of state. Our keynote address on why South-South cooperation matters will be delivered by His Excellency, the President of Mauritania and past Chairperson of the African Union, His Excellency Mahmoud Sheikh Ould Ghazouani. Thank you, Mohammed.
In the name of God, peace and prayers be upon the Prophet. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me at the outset to express my deepest gratitude and appreciation to the OPEC Fund in general and its president, His Excellency Dr. Abdul Hamid Al Khalifa, for the kind invitation. And I would like to congratulate him for the provisions and the careful organization of this fourth session of the OPEC Fund. This forum today is a high-level international platform for the exchange of views on strengthening cooperation for sustainable development. The adoption of the slogan of this session, and that is a transition that empowers our tomorrow. So this is a slogan that is deeply aware of the nature and magnitude of the challenges facing our developing countries. Its focus on our four interrelated pillars, which underpin this goal, demonstrates the Fund's determination to contribute effectively to the formulation and implementation of solutions that drive more inclusive, equitable, and sustainable development through enhanced international cooperation. The world is at a critical juncture, and this is gradually reformulating some of the world rules and principles and the challenges it faces. And these are varied and growing in their magnitude, and this requires us to promote integration, exchange of experiences, and build partnerships based on trust and transparency. And here I would like to reiterate Mauritania's commitment to working together and supporting the vision of OPEC Fund to build a world in which all peoples achieve the goals of sustainable development. I also highly appreciate the leading role played by the Fund in strengthening the partnership between the countries of the South and in supporting the development efforts of many developing countries, including my country, whose vital sectors such as energy, water, and infrastructure have benefited from effective, commendable support. We also commend the attention given by the Forum to resource sustainability, inclusive transformation and transition, financing for development, and upgrading digital and human potential. We are ready to work with all partners to make this transition successful and accelerate the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our development vision in the Islamic Republic of Mauritania is ambitious, based on the strategy of accelerated growth and shared prosperity. And this is a comprehensive national strategy aimed at achieving sustainable economic development, promoting social justice, sustainable management of resources and infrastructure development, with special attention to youth, women, and the most vulnerable groups, and development human capital as the key driver of all effective development transition. We cannot talk about real development without the sustainable management of our natural resources. Therefore, we have worked on strengthening the integration of productive sectors such as energy, water, and agriculture through environmentally friendly agricultural and water projects and expanding the reliance on renewable energies, especially solar and wind power, in order to enhance economic resilience and to improve the use of our natural resources. Recognizing that the mobilization of private and public resources, both domestically and internationally, is a crucial element in the implementation of any ambitious development agenda, we have implemented important structural reforms within the strategy, which have enabled significant progress in the area of balancing major balances, improving the business climate, and intensifying investments in productive sectors, especially in fields of energy, agriculture, fishing, and digitalization. And this progress was supported by our partners, such as the IMF. We have also worked to take advantage of the unprecedented prospects of the digital revolution to achieve rapid and sustainable development and launched a number of initiatives to promote digital transformation and transition, to modernize governance and build the capacity of young people in technical fields, enabling them to participate effectively in the global digital economy. The various achievements made within the framework of the strategy of accelerated growth and shared well-being open up promising investment opportunities in many sectors, such as renewable energy, green minerals, marine resources, and sustainable agriculture. This is reinforced by our country's strategic location on the shores of the Atlantic, which qualifies it to be a regional logistics platform par excellence. I renew my call to investors and donors to explore these significant investment opportunities. I hope that the work of this forum will be successful and will result in concrete initiatives that contribute to building a world where development is inclusive, equitable, and sustainable as the people of developing countries aspire, and that the OPEC Fund works to embody this target. Thank you, and peace and blessings of God be upon you.
Thank you so much to you, Your Excellency Mohammed Sheikh Ould Khaswani, President of Mauritania, again telling us that if you have the Global South at the decision-making table, not only do you give them a bigger voice, but you make development more meaningful because the custodians of these programs will be there as well. So we really appreciate your insights. In terms of setting the tone for this year's forum, our three distinguished leaders have helped to do that for us, articulating some of the broad themes. We'd now like to synthesize some of the curated topics for the forum with a high-level panel and a session that I'll be turning over in a moment to a distinguished journalist. But just to really help us expand on what we mean by transforming tomorrow today, we're going to invite the Director General of the UN Office in Vienna, who's also the Executive Director of the UN Office in Drugs and Crime, Madam Khada Wali, to really get us going. Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, President Ould Ghazouani, Your Excellencies, distinguished ministers, Your Excellency Dr. Al Khalifa, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you at the OPEC Fund Development Forum for 2025 and to address this group of eminent development leaders. For the fourth year, the OPEC Fund is convening this powerful platform, which is fast becoming a yearly highlight for dialogue on development. I want to congratulate the Fund on the growing relevance of the forum and on the decision to focus this edition on transition and transformation. Excellencies, our world is indeed going through transformative changes at unprecedented speed. War is engulfing the globe, eroding the foundations of international law and reversing years of development gains. Lives are lost, infrastructure is destroyed. Diplomacy is changing, with more fluid alignments and a growing emphasis on transactional outcomes. Technology is changing, challenging our ideas of what we can do and what we can believe. And our planet is changing, scarred by a climate crisis that is no longer deniable. Our world is changing, and we must strive to shape tomorrow rather than let it take shape around us. Our hopes for a better tomorrow are rooted in our dreams of sustainable development. But the sustainable development goals that the world agreed on are in peril. As they enter their final stretch, only 17% of the SDG indicators are on track. There's a need for bold, country-owned solutions backed by robust regional and international cooperation. And that is why multilateralism is more crucial than ever. Multilateralism is a matter of principle, the principle that all nations are inherently equal and must resolve disputes peacefully and work together. But it is also a matter of practice, a matter of comparative advantages, mutual benefits, and pooling of resources to face common challenges in a practical and efficient manner. Excellencies, multilateralism is our best and only avenue to mobilize the immense political and financial capital we need to fight for development against growing odds. The IMF estimates that $3.5 trillion are needed in the next 4 years to make significant progress on just 5 key SDGs. And that's without even meeting all the targets that fall under those SDGs. But financing gaps have widened in the poorest and least developed countries, and traditional donor countries are rolling back their contributions. According to OECD, official development assistance fell by 7.1% last year. Multilateral solutions are needed more than ever, and the development community must step up. And that's why I'm looking forward to the panel, looking forward to listen to IDB, Badia, and Kabei. Multilateral development banks, they have a leading role to play. Multilateral development banks, MDBs, can provide and facilitate affordable, forward-looking finance to create cycles of economic growth, financing for development, and climate action. MDBs can help alleviate the crippling debt shouldered by the world's poor by supporting debt restructuring and helping to generate revenue for debt relief, especially for Africa. MDBs can mobilize the resources for a clean energy transition that saves our planet without sacrificing the right to pursue growth and development. And crucially, MDBs can document and disseminate success stories to build success upon success and to foster faith in the potential of the Global South. With almost 5 decades of experience supporting sustainable development, the OPEC Fund is an example of the reach and impact that an MDB can have. I commend the role of the OPEC Fund as a convener and as a catalyst. The Fund's broad network of 125 partner countries covers most of the Global South and is a formidable vehicle for South-South cooperation. And this is the time for South-South cooperation. The countries of the Global South cannot afford to wait for help. They must help themselves and each other now. For the Global South to emerge stronger, it is necessary to unlock the immense power of private capital at national, regional, and global levels. Governments and their partners must incentivize private sector investment by removing obstacles and by proving with action and with examples that development is good for business. It's time to revisit also the global financial architecture. And it is necessary to close the growing gap in technology between developed and developing countries. As technology races forward, the developing world must not get left behind. Investments and cooperation on new tech, artificial intelligence, and digital infrastructure will be vital. Excellencies, the road to sustainable development must be walked with many considerations in mind. Allow me to briefly highlight 3 of the most essential ones. Firstly, inclusion and equality. Investing in development means investing in capital-intensive projects, but also labor-intensive and labor-inclusive projects that create jobs for women and youth. It means investing in the infrastructure for education and vocational training and supporting necessary reforms in policy and legislation. And it means investing in a climate and energy transition that is fair and inclusive. Secondly, innovation. Confronting the obstacles at hand requires bold thinking. It requires innovative financing modalities, including issuing bonds that favor positive outcomes for development and the environment. It requires leveraging fintech solutions, blockchain for nimbler, more inclusive, and more transparent finance. And it requires the courage to invest in innovation, especially in the Global South. And thirdly, the rule of law. The massive investments that we need to make in our future must be protected from corruption and diversion through robust safeguards that span everything from procurement to finance. Rule of law, anti-corruption, and strong institutions are guarantees for any investment. Ladies and gentlemen, as crises converge and their impacts cascade, it's important now more than ever to emphasize, if we are to transform tomorrow, we must start changing today. Now is the moment to mobilize resources, to close down gaps, and to show faith in the future. And it is the moment to double down rather than give up on the SDGs. This OPEC Fund Development Forum brings together the right players from government, MDBs, and the private sector. And it places the focus on the key questions pertaining to energy transition, resource sustainability, and development finance. I congratulate Dr. Al Khalifa for the OPEC Fund achievements, bringing resilience, dignity, and hope to recipient countries. I'm confident that the forum will spark important dialogue and ambitious ideas as we strive for a greener and more prosperous future for all. Thank you, and I wish you fruitful discussions.
Thank you, Madam Khadawali, also reminding us of the urgency in getting things done with 5 years to go to meeting the UN Sustainable Development Goals and doing things properly and legally, as she has reiterated. And so a panel will now be led by Noor Amash, expanding on this topic of transforming tomorrow today. Noor Amash is a renowned business journalist with Ashara Business and Bloomberg News, and I'm really quite happy to be turning over the floor to her to facilitate the conversation now. Noor.
Good morning, Excellencies, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues. Welcome to the OPEC Fund Development Forum. It is my honor to welcome you to this high-level plenary session today, Transforming Tomorrow Today. As the OPEC Fund approaches its 50th anniversary, we gather here at a pivotal moment. The world, as we know it, faces rising debt, climate pressures, resource fragility, and widening digital divides. Yet we also stand on the edge of historic opportunity. Today, we are not here to repeat challenges. We are here to focus on action. The OPEC Fund was built on the principle of South-South solidarity, and through collaboration, innovation, and integrated financing, we can help bridge gaps, mobilize capital, and deliver impact where it's most needed. With just 5 years remaining to meet the UN 2030 agenda, urgency must now become our common language. I'm delighted to be joined today by such a distinguished panel representing regional champions and global institutions. Each brings unique experience and real-world solutions that can shape the path forward. Let me begin by welcoming our esteemed panel, Dr. Mohammed Al-Jasser, the President of the Islamic Development Bank, Ms. Gisela Sanchez, the President of the Central American Bank for Economic Integration, and Dr. Sidi Wuldata, the President of the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badia, and the incoming President for the African Development Bank. Welcome. Doctor, hello, please. Allow me to welcome you again to this panel, which I'm delighted to moderate today in front of this great audience here. And let me start by talking with you, Dr. Mohammed, on energy transition and resource sustainability. That is a key theme at this point. So given the diversity, the Islamic Development Bank member countries in terms of energy resources and development levels, how is the bank at this point supporting a just and an inclusive energy transition across different contexts, especially for the fragile and low-income states?
أولاً بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Abdel Hamid. Thank you, OPEC Fund. It's a great opportunity to be participating with this distinguished panel. I think this is a very timely question. Fortunately, I don't have to say much, because I think Mr. Al-Jad'an already in his speech has covered most of not only the challenges, but also the opportunities and what we, either as policymakers or development professionals or practitioners, have to do. But let me say something about the Islamic Development Bank approach, which is, as you said, it's a differentiated yet inclusive, because we have to meet the needs of a differentiated membership. We cannot just cater to those who have very sophisticated systems, but we have to cater to those who are trying to transition from very basic fuel sources to a much more sophisticated ones. We have been very responsive to the needs of our membership without any discrimination against any source, in spite of demands for that. So we have been financing both fossil fuels and others, but also at the same time renewables. Renewable energy and climate-friendly projects constitute more than 46% already of our energy financing. So we are very cognizant and sensitive to that, but we are not holding ourselves hostage to one pattern of that form. Of course, we have our own framework for transition that we follow with our members, and we try our best to meet their needs. It is important, I think, at this juncture to mention that we have applied this transition paradigm to several members and have already seen wonderful achievements, especially like, let's say, in the hydropower. Hydropower, be it Rogon Dam or be it the Ashaki Kaloke in Turkey, we have invested or financed with our other members of the ACG, particularly, to promote these projects that not only provide clean energy, but provide cheaper energy and promote good agriculture also, at the same time connect the member countries in a region, let's say in Central Asia, so they can really get more integrated in that line of business and enhanced cooperation between them on all aspects. So to conclude, really the energy transition has to be a very open-ended one. We should not restrict ourselves to one, while at the same time, as Mr. Al-Jad'an mentioned, we have to take into account all the developments in the energy systems, so we have provided the energy needed without sacrificing climate or the environment. We can do both, and we have been doing both, and we hope others will keep that in mind. Thank you.
Allow me to go in the next question to Dr. Sidi Wuldetta. The microphone is there. The president of the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badia, and the incoming president of the African Development Bank. Now, as you prepare to lead the AFDB, what institutional reforms or priorities do you believe are critical for multilateral development banks to mobilize significantly more capital for Africa's infrastructure and the green transition there?
Thank you very much. Let me, at the outset, commend the effort of the OPEC Fund and thank Dr. Khalifa for this excellent initiative. And I have been privileged to attend the past forum, and each year it's really a new opportunity for exchange of ideas and innovation. So coming back to your question, so I have been privileged over the past 10 years to work with the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, which is part of the Arab Coordination Group. And the Arab Coordination Group has been instrumental in supporting various regions in the world, and particularly Africa. And the lesson learned from this experience will be definitely helpful for supporting Africa through the African Development Bank Group. And let me just mention 3 points. First, partnership is key. Because if Badia has been successful in supporting the African continent over the past 50 years of existence, mainly because it is part of the Arab Coordination Group and it is very strongly supported by its shareholders. And let me thank our shareholders, and Minister Al-Jad'an, Saudi Arabia is the largest shareholder, and Minister Al-Jad'an has been very supportive for Badia and instrumental in its last capital increase. So based on the partnership developed within the Arab Coordination Group, Badia has been able to raise $4 to $5 against each dollar from its own resources. So when Badia has to finance a project of 100 million, Badia needs only to put 20 million, and the 80 million will come from the other Arab Coordination Group. I can try to apply it for AFDB and try to raise more partners for the African Development Bank. And by the way, in my vision, I talk about turning each dollar to 10. The second point, which I do believe is very important, is what Minister Al-Jad'an has mentioned in his statement regarding the 4-point MDBs should take into consideration. And definitely, this will be a source of inspiration also for me in conducting the business of the AFDB. The third point I would like to highlight is we are in a very important step of the history of the world, and ODA is shrinking. So we need to give more priority to the private sector. Mm-hmm. And it happens that today in the world, if we look at the pension fund, for instance, the latest statistic shows that there are 58.5 trillion of asset under management in the pension fund and 17.5 trillion of asset under management within the sovereign wealth fund. So MDBs should help to de-risk the investment and to attract part of these resources to bridge the gap of financing. Thank you.
Now let's cross the Atlantic from Africa to Latin America. And let's talk about, with the president of the Central American Bank for Economic Integration, Ms. Gisela Sanchez. I welcome you again. What specific measures has the Central American Bank for Economic Integration been implementing to help countries in the region build resilience against the adverse effect of climate change and economic shocks?
Thank you so much, and good morning, Your Excellencies. Thank you to the OPEC Fund and its President Al-Khalifa for this kind invitation, and fellow panelists. I strongly believe that we are in a true inflection point in history, and we have to step up our game. So in terms of climate change, Latin America, and specifically Central America, has only 1% of the territory of the world, but we hold 10% of the biodiversity of the world. So we have a bigger responsibility to protect it. And in that regard, in CABE, we have been doing 3 main things in order to act. First of all, trying to scale up our climate resilient finance. For example, we have now our Climate Change Investment Project Preparation Fund, and actually we are inviting OPEC Fund to be part of it in order to design innovative projects. We are trying to mobilize as many financial resources as possible through other partners, the Green Climate Fund being one of the examples. And we're trying to prioritize projects that will go to clean energy, water resilience, resilient infrastructure, and so on. The second thing that we have been doing is embedding in every single operation social and environmental value. I strongly believe that it's not only about minimizing negative impact in our projects, but it's more about creating positive value for the environment and for society. And the third thing that we have been doing is supporting our countries to design innovative projects and actually national adaptation plans. And just an example, in order to do that, we have to start in our own institutions. So now we have the goal to become a carbon positive bank ourselves. And we were able, in the social arena, we were able this year to eradicate the salary gap between women and men within our own bank, to demonstrate and myself being the first female president of the bank, to demonstrate that it's possible and that it's an urgent matter. So we have a lot of examples. Let me give you one. We have a climate action initiative that incorporates the 5 Central American countries, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica, along with Panama and the Dominican Republic. And we have designed 67 projects, including water security, resilient infrastructure, ecosystem protection, and disaster reduction. All of them with the objective of demonstrating that we can bring the most efficient financial resources and the most innovative financial solutions to tackle all the challenges that we face in our region.
Great. Let me go back to you, Dr. Al-Jasser, to talk about how the ISDB is innovating different development financing tools through blended finance, partnerships, maybe green sukuks, in order to mobilize greater resources for climate development. We've had a conversation previously, and we touched upon this maybe a few months ago. And you're always seeking more tools in order to develop or to meet those development targets.
Indeed, you're right. The Islamic Development Bank has been on the forefront of innovating, particularly in Islamic finance. The Islamic Development Bank flagship, if you will, instrument has been the sukuk. We have issued more than $53 billion of sukuk already since 2003. So we are the prominent issuer of sukuk and the house of expertise also on sukuk. And we have been providing that expertise to our members. But at the same time, we are also expanding other sources, dealing with, let's say, philanthropic organizations and humanitarian organizations like King Salman Relief Center. We have also done the Lives and Livelihoods Fund, where, again, also Saudi Arabia through the King Salman Relief Fund and the Qatar Fund and the UAE and some others also have participated, which is basically a philanthropic activity, but it has done some wonderful things. For example, fighting polio in Pakistan when it broke out, that was one of the most successful operations that were done. But also we work with philanthropic organizations to mobilize resources, let's say for the avoidable blindness program in West Africa. This is a very successful program that we are very proud to have been managing, and yes, working also with philanthropic organizations. We have been innovating, as I said, in the tools that we use. Our Sharia forum, our Sharia committee has been very active in innovating also with all of that. As you know, we are a AAA rated organization, so we have to be also very, very careful with how we build up partnerships and promote the new instruments. But we think that today's needs go beyond what just the Islamic Development Bank can do. I think this collective, this group that we are part of, the Arab Coordination Group, I think is a very, very important vehicle that has to be capitalized on. And we in the Islamic Development Bank are ready to provide all the skills and information that have been developed over the past 50 years to promote that diversity of financing and to meet the needs of the members, because the needs of the members are different. And therefore, we cannot just say, I only have this instrument, take it or leave it. No, we have to be very creative, and thank God we have been very successful in that.
That's true. Dr. Sidi Wuldatah, speaking about the partnerships between African-led institutions and entities like OPEC Fund, what role can those partnerships play in advancing large-scale cross-border projects that integrate energy, food security, and digital transformation altogether?
This is a very important question because it's about partnership, and partnership is key for development. And OPEC Fund, for instance, and Badia has been working very closely among the Arab Coordination Group to fund various projects in various sectors, including security of energy, but also food security, water and sanitation, education, health. So this institution working for supporting Africa can play a very important role in many areas. For instance, let us take 3 points. First, supporting African financial institutions, because if you want Africa to leverage on its own capabilities, you need to strengthen African financial institutions. And in the Arab Coordination Group and Badia and OPEC Fund, we have been very supportive to institutions, and I see that the president of the West African Development Bank, Serge, is here. The president of the Trade and Development Bank is here. The vice president of the African Finance Corporation, and all these institutions has been supported financially through capital injection by Badia and OPEC Fund and other Arab Coordination Group institutions. The second point, which is very important, is to support large-scale projects which are transformative by nature. And the Islamic Development Bank has been leading with the Arab Coordination Group, including Badia and OPEC Fund, for very large projects, dams, roads projects, power station, universities, and so on. So the third point is also African integration. And as mentioned by His Excellency President Mohamed Sheikh Al-Ghazouani, President of Mauritania, Mauritania has been receiving a strong support for the implementation of its strategy, the Accelerator Growth and Shared Prosperity Strategy, received a very strong support from Arab Coordination Group and African Development Bank. And the last project, which is interconnection between in West Africa, part of the West African energy pool. So there is an interconnection between Mauritania, Mali, and other countries, and it has been supported by the Arab Coordination Group and the African Development Bank.
Great. So we're still talking about partnerships, but we will also talk about the partnerships in Latin America. So the Central American Bank for Economic Integration, the Latin American Development Bank, and the Caribbean Development Bank recently signed exposure exchange agreements. How do these exemplify innovation in regional development finance, and what potential do they hold for scaling capital efficiency and expanding development across Latin America and the Caribbean region?
Thank you for that question, and thank to the president of the Caribbean Development Bank, who is here, and the president of CAF. We were able to have 2 transactions. The first between non-AAA multilateral development banks to demonstrate that we are endorsing the capital adequacy framework of the G20, and at the same time to demonstrate that we can have true South-to-South collaboration among the multilateral development banks. The transaction with the Caribbean Development Bank was for $450 million, and the one with CAF, $700 million. So for us, a total of $1.1 billion. And we're very, very, very happy with the results because we have been able to, first, improve our capital efficiency. Second, diversify our sovereign portfolio, loan portfolio, and at the same time bring new loan lending capacity. So very, very excited about the opportunities coming forward and the opportunity to demonstrate that we can act together, that we can bring high impact projects through these new instruments, the new financial innovation, and bring more resources, mobilize more resources to serve our countries in the best way possible.
Thank you, Ms. Giselle. Let me come back to you, Dr. Mohammed. ISDB has long championed South-South cooperation as a cornerstone of its development approach. What are the most promising opportunities to deepen this collaboration, whether through capital mobilization, technological transfer, institutional capacity building, and else? How can these be effectively scaled across regions, especially in fragile and conflict-affected contexts?
Well, I think this is a very important milestone in the development process of our membership. We used to always look for solutions way outside our borders. Now, alhamdulillah, we have realized that we also have some internal resources within our member countries. And therefore, now the Islamic Development Bank is involved in collecting information about these centers of excellence in our member countries, so they can share that expertise. And we have very good successful examples, be it Tunisia providing some technical assistance on IT to Mauritania, be it telemedicine from Egypt to some African countries. We have also in Sierra Leone the soil stabilization program also. That was done between South-South cooperation. So we have been very active in cultivating those skills available around the membership so they can cooperate and share that knowledge and that expertise amongst themselves. You know, the developing world is short of capital. And if they are going to import everything from outside, it's going to be very, very costly. So let's start with what we have at home. And this is really where the South-South cooperation comes in. And that's why I always say that the Islamic Development Bank is from the South, by the South, for the South. So we have to really cultivate that line and make sure that we do not overlook the expertise that we have in our member country.
So as we are running out of time, the clock is ticking, but let me very briefly come back to you, Dr. Sidi Ouldata. How can the AFDB and OPEC Fund jointly strengthen support for the fragile African states dealing with both climate shocks and debt vulnerability?
Definitely, I do believe that already OPEC Fund and the AFDB are already working together to support fragile states in various areas, and particularly providing highly concessional funding for this fragile state to cater for their needs in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of water, and in terms of access to electricity. And I do believe that this partnership will definitely be scaled up.
And Ms. Sanchez, also one last question to you, please. How do you see the role of a regional development bank in driving green and inclusive digital infrastructure, especially that CABE has been a leader in financing digital connectivity across Central America?
Three main roles, of course, bringing concessional financial resources combined with the private capital to bring more rural access, internet access. Second, de-risking investments to bring in the last mile connectivity. And third, improving digital education platforms. And in that regard, I would like to mention that we're trying to understand how can we deploy more artificial intelligence within our region. And people say that 2025 is going to be the last year in terms of only counting in our annual reports the number of employees that we have. Now we're going to have AI agents and employees working together to bring more innovative financial solutions to our countries.
We wish you the best of luck. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in this panel. It was a pleasure to having you all on this stage. Thank you. Please, let's give them an applause. Thank you. Shukran. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Doctor.
Let me thank you, Noor, an anchor with Bloomberg News, for hosting a dynamic panel, ably done.
Thank you.
And a lot of ground was covered, many great insights. Thank you for that, and thank you to the distinguished guests for taking the time to be with us in this plenary session and a high-level session. We're now going to adjourn for a comfort and coffee break, but I just do have a few housekeeping notes. So please, as we've requested, please leave your translation headsets in the room. We'll appreciate that. After the coffee break, we're going to be resuming in 2 breakaway sessions. The first is the room to my left, directly opposite this plenary hall. You will recognize the room because it's a solarium. It's got a glass roof. It's nice, big, and airy, and one of the breakaway sessions will be taking place there. The other will be behind this auditorium. So behind the screen, you will recognize the room as it has colonnades, marble columns, and chandeliers. But if you're not sure, please look at your digital conference app or ask the ushers, who would be most happy to help you. We will reconvene at exactly 11:30 with those 2 breakaway sessions, one in the solarium to my left and the other in the room with the colonnades right behind the auditorium. Thank you for your time, and see you at 11:30.